So this is Baruch Fleischman here. We are at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel and getting back on my feet again right here at the end of the winter Zman. So here Pesach is coming. It's looming ahead of us. We have a couple of more days and try to get some ideas in here about what's going on at the time of the Pesach seder. Now let me just go over here and show you where the work that I'm planning on looking at right now is really 3 pages of introduction to the next drush, which is drush Vav, in the Inyan of Pesach and drush Vav. So let me just read the first words, and the words in that drush say, Nevayer bo ba'orach seder leil Pesach. No, it's not an accident that it's a seder. It goes in a certain way, because different things happen. He said, then the matzos, the arba kosas, and the 4 different kosas, each one of them has a meaning in sod. The karpas, begam charosas, then you have the karpas, then you also have the chavrosas. All of these things are called inyani leil Pesach. This is the secrets of these things are all going to be explained on Pesach. But, it's going to take a couple of weeks, and we have a few days. So we'll go over here to this page right here, which is the Hakdama L'Drash Vav, and we'll see if we can't understand it. Let me bring it a little closer to myself and bring my camera down. There we go. So it'll take a little bit longer this time to get into this. And so it says like this. Yesh Tahakmin the Bayer as Drash or Rishash. Now we're going to explain the Rishash. What is the Rishash? The Rishash is really a pictorial and a much deeper than even the Ari. It's said to be, the Rishash is said to be like a second coming of the Ari, so to speak, because the Ari died very young. There's a lot more to be said if we wanted to get in more specifics. But what he's doing is he's really tracing the flow of energy that comes through the various different days, pair prayers, and holidays, if we might say like that. That flowing of energy in great detail. So let's talk about what the Rishash is going to say. That's Rabbi Shalom Sharabi, also known as the Shemesh, the sun. HaMizbar be'etz Chaim, who's explained the Eitz Chaim be'inyan madregas ha'mochin. Now, we understand mochin. Mochin is the energy that comes from the Ein Sof Baruch Hu to us. It's its light. But it's a general term because it's specific and general. As Inyan Katnos Godlus rishon Sheni. And now there's a subject here we want to talk about. One is called Katnos, and there's 2 different aspects. There's a Katnos of rishon and Sheni. Also Godlus, the same thing. Now what are they? He says, when Zera Anpin was born out of Abba Ve'ima, all of which is born out of the Rapach Netzutzos, that are brought back up into the Tikkun to be rebuilt. So the way that he is as a finished product, he has 2 different aspects to him of light. The light that is the pure energy. One is called nefesh and the other is called ruach. Now nefesh normally refers to malchus and ruach refers to zeranpin. Or the last letter hey would be malchus, and the next letter Vav would be Ruach, just as I said. So each one of them has a set of internal lights. So now what the Rav does is he comes in and he wants to look deeper. It's not just that the netzutzos, of the broken kalim, come back and reorganize themselves as we pray and as we do all the things that we need to do to rebuild the broken world. But even inside of them, there are lights as well. So he says inside there's an Aranthi Pratium, there's an Aranthi, which means what? From the right to the left, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chai, Yechida. These specific lights are also in each one of those 2, that is, of Ruach and Nefesh. So we say like this, all the Naranchi has a Naranchi in each one of them, and you could go on and on and on, etc. So these 5 partsufim, omdim zelivnim mizeh. So he says that the Naranchi could also recommend the 5 partsufim, which is Eric Anpin, Abba Ve'ima, Chochman Bina, Zera Anpin, and the Nukva. but they could also go with those two, and they do. But let's see if we get that over here or we don't. So in other words, you have a lot of different matching ideas, a lot of different words for it. It's not the same thing. They're different parts of the same section. So here we have the concept of 5. Is the kind of hanefesh hu hachitzo mikulam. So the nefesh, when you have in the ranchi, the nefesh will be on the most outside. So here, if you look at the ranchi, you'll see that you're really moving more and more into the inside. The first letter is the most outside one. V'lifnim b'menu hu haruach, and inside of that is the ruach. V'lifnim b'menu hu neshama v'achra v'chaya v'achra v'yechida. So that's the way that you read them and you understand them. So this year is really a little bit more, I don't know, I find it very good. So let's see what it says. V'nimsa b'techidus atzilus azah. So there at the very beginning, Zah comes out. Halayim m'gasar partsufim. But he had within him 10 partsufim. So there's different ways to count the 10 partsufim. Let's see what he means. The hainu, the ranchi, the nefesh, and the ranchi, the ruach. So each one of them, then the ranchi, and maybe this is the question that somebody was asking me yesterday. I'm really not sure what he was asking. He says that each one of these represents a partsuf by itself. So the 3 partsufim, which are neshama, chay, and yechida, all of our avodah is to try to bring those into Zer Anpin, because Zer Anpin is what we call a vok. He's only 6 kitzvos. That's all he is. But we need him to be 10. The hainu sheyakabel neshama chay yechida haklalulim. So they should be able to get all of those should be coming. That's what we work for. That's what we try to accomplish. Parts of a neshama who mekabel meyasos. So where does the neshama come from? Well, it comes a level of bina. Yasos is like a lower bina, like a lower, chochman bina. Shehem nikroim neshama. So together they are called neshama. Klalos olamos. So let's just look at Yasos again. It's Yisrael Sava v'Tavuna. That's what it means. Yisrael Sava refers to a subsection of Chachma. And let's just say call it a subsection, maybe a lot more, a lot less, depending on how you look at it. And Tavuna is also part of Bina, same kind of words. Parts of Chaya hu mekabel me Abba ve'Ima. So the parts of Kol Chaya, it received from Abba ve'Ima. So there's another set. So if there's a Yisrael Saba, which is male, and a Tavuna, which is female, there's also parts of up above them. In other words, there are a subset of the parts of up above them, which are called Abba ve'Ima Eloyin, which is Chochma and Bina. Hanikroim Chaya b'Klalos, and this, in terms of the light that's within it, is tremendously great light. It's called the light of Chaya. Well, parts of a yechida hu mekabel me'erik anpin. That comes from erik anpin, which is the 5th partsuf. B'kol pam shemekabel b'partsufim el yonim. All as long, I guess we said every time they're receiving partsufim el yonim, harihu nigdal lichiyos kamosim. Then what happens is the Zer Anpin is stretchable. So as the light of Chaya comes into Zer Anpin, he's able to move up. I guess the way he wants to say is the light of Yisrael Savat Tavuna moves up. This is the concept of, let's think, the letter Vav of the Yud-K Vav-K represents Zer Anpin. Zer Anpin can grow. It can grow up to the same height as the letter above him, which is Bina. So he could grow up to that, or Tavuna, if we're using that metaphor. He grows up to be like them. Because as Zer Anpin took form, which he had normally in himself by himself, he was a nefesh and a ruach. He said, at that stage, he's at the tibur of erik anpin. Now, erik anpin is really the energy, the ultimate energy in our world and understanding. The erik anpin is Itzilus. It is in other words, I said once again, it's the ultimate energy of the Ein Sof within everything. So he says, so erik anpin is really the standard by which everything grows. Shesham makom maimon dezah, because that's how tall Zer Anpin. He's at the tibur of erik anpin. But then, Kashemekabel parts of a neshama me Yisrael Sav Devuna, Nigdal Va'ola Adachaza the Erik Anpin. He grows, he becomes great until he reaches the chest of Erik Anpin Mamish Kakumas Yisrael Sav Devuna, and now he's at the same height as Yisrael Sav Devuna. Now, what happened to Yisrael Sav Devuna? They grow too. So all of this growing is from the bottom up. That's how everything grows. That's actually true about trees too. Nigdal Adagoran the Erik Anpin Ka'aba V'ima. He can grow all the way up to the three. From the next case, let me see. Ukashim Makabal is parts of a chaya. That's what I missed. Ma'aba V'ima Eloyan, that comes from Abba V'ima Eloyan. Nigdal Adagoran the Erik Anpin. He grows all the way up to the height of the throat of Erik Anpin, which is the place where Abba V'ima, that partsuf, is located in relationship to Erik Anpin. Understand, I'm trying to find the right words to say this maybe a little bit better, is that Erik Anpin is the core of what we could understand reality. Beyond Erik Anpin is not really knowable. But we have a possibility people understand the idea that there is a core of light, and then the core of light, the name of that core is Erik Anpin. Now, as we go over here on Kishimikabel, Yechidim, the parts of Erik Anpin, which I said is the core, Nigdal ad Kumasu shal Erik Anpin, the Gamri, it's a tremendous, tremendous height for Zer Anpin to reach. Now, what we have here, what we're learning, is in great detail a lot of information that really we need to see. So here comes some more. He said, "V'hidech nefesh should be called prat and nikras ibor." So, just like we said before, there's an aranchi in every partzuf. Nefesh ruach neshama chai yechida is in every partzuf. These are gradations of light. So nefesh being the most outside one, which is automatically makes it the lowest one. So he said, a nefesh should be called prat nikros ivor. It's called embryonic. V'haruch should be called prat nikros yinika. So these are just different words of actually birth. V'haneshama choyechai yechida should be called prat nikroim godlus. That's called godlus. And now we're getting to the idea of Katnos and godlus. V'hem niknasim ke'echad. They all come in like one together. Nimsa sheshnecha partzufim machitzonim, that the two most outside partzufim understand that one is inside of the next, and all of the lima that we've said before that the Uri does is from the inside to the outside. Now, if you listen to the work of Yaakov Cronenberg, which we learn over here also, that's talking about the outside to the inside. It's a different formulation. It's all part of the same Kabbalah. So partzufim machitzonim nikroim Katnos Shehem Iber v'Yanika. So Katnos is these two originals. Zah is born in Katnos. What's Katnos means? It means a child's mind. He doesn't have the complete view of reality, which includes the fact that the maker of the universe, Hashem Yisbarach, is inside of everything. V'shloshal partzuf ha'benimim heim ha'gadol. So the three inside, which is called, let me see if I get this right, Nachi. So we have different combinations of letters. What's Nechi? Neshama Chai Yechida. That's the head. So in other words, that's the maturity. That's the real vision of godliness. So let's read a little bit more and we'll see how far down. I'm going to get down to the bottom of the page so that we can see this whole piece. So we're trying to understand godless and Katnos. V'techidas hamshachas hamochim hu mepartzufi mepartzuf haneshama. So he says, where does the mochin really come from? So parts of the neshama refers to Yisrael Sabbat Tavuna. They are, as it were, it's like a nozzle or a nozzle, a hose nozzle, and they go into Zer Anpin and fill them up with light. Because it's from Yisrael Sabbat Tavuna, which is the area of neshama, where all the five partzufim will come into Zer Anpin pratim shehem narantchi the neshama, and they're called the narantchi the neshama. If it's Zman Ivor, then at this original stage, the Zman of Ivor, which is also called nefesh, whom mekabel as parts of a nefesh the neshama, it gets the nefesh of the neshama shehich nikras parts of Ivor. If it's Zman Yanika, when Nika means nursing, suckling, who mekabel as a ruach the neshama nikra parts of Yanika, which is called by the name parts of Yanika. of Zman HaGadlus and the time of Godlus, who Kabbalist parts of a neshama, Chaya Yechida, the neshama. Can we understand this? Parts of parts of parts. A set of 5, and that set of 5 fits into each one of the sets of 5. So he said, "V'kol elu nikroim Katnos v'Godlus rishon." So all of this now is called Godlus and Katnos rishon. Shahari b'klalusim heim parts of a neshama. So generally speaking, yes, that's true. They are the parts of a neshama, which is coming from Yisrael Saba Devuna. Shekiba lezecha mi Yisrael Saba Devuna. Shehu madrega rishon shetzarach lahamshech. So this is the first thing that has to come in when we're bringing in new mochim. This is a new year, so to speak. This is the year, as the Reese says in other places, this is the female part of the year. It starts off very, very sweet and bright. It gets all really hot around the summertime. As we know, we have Yud Zayin Tammuz, and then we have Tisha B'Av. So he says, Shuhu Madrega Rishonish Tzarech Lachamshech. So this is the first Madrega that you have to pull down. So the Katnos that refers to Iver and Yanika, that's called Katnos Rishon. So let's understand the basic Katnos, right? He says, who Katnos Rishon, he says, who is that? Shuha Iver v'Yanika, which also corresponds to Nefesh and Ruach, which also corresponds to Malchus and Zeranpeh, and Tiferes, and some other words. Who Katnos Rishon, this is the Katnos Rishon, v'Hagadlus, Shuha Neshama Chai Yechida, which is the top part, what is coming from Yisrael Saba Devuna, who Hagadlus Rishon. Now we'll go to the last part, and we're finishing up now. Achar kach mamshech osel seder mamash k'shemekabel parts of achayas, and now we're really extending down the entire parts, all of the lights in the parts of achaya ma'aba ve'imah eloyin shebetachila bekabel as hakatnas hasheni. So let me start over. So after you have Katnos Rishon and Katnos Sheni, which is coming from Yisrael Saba Devuna, Mamshech Osar Seder Mamish, the same exact Seder. Shemekabel the parts of Achaya me'Abba ve'imah Eloyin, but this comes from a different parts of, the parts of which is called Abba ve'imah Eloyin, which refers to Chochmah and Bina. So he says, Ma'abba ve'Eloyin shebetachila mekabel es Katnos Sheni, because now when see, everything depends on where the light is really organized from. Not apparently. One of the ideas and one of the questions that I had, is the light always comes from Yisrael Saba Devuna. So why are we saying that it's coming from Abba ve'imah Eloyin, which is different parts? Why are we saying that? Because sometimes the partsufim down below just wrap the upper partsufim. They grow up to that level, and they wrap it. And we're talking about the level of the light of Abba ve'imah Eloyin, which is extremely, extremely close to the light of nothing, which is the light of Ein Sof, which... Let's go on. Mekabel is a Katnos Hasheni. So this, from Abba ve'imah Eloyin, this is a really important principle. You get the Katnos Hasheni, Dahaino, as parts of a Iber, who parts of a Yanika, shall parts of a Chaya. V'achar kach mekabel as a Shlosha partsuf of B'minimium, and then you get more inside. First you get to the outside, you get the Yanika, and you get the Iber part, then it's going to come higher levels. As a Shlosha partsuf of B'minimium, which are inside of there, shall Chaya, Shuhu Nikra Godlus Sheni, which is Godlus Sheni, because that is the Iker part of Abba ve'imah Eloyin, Shehem Neshama Chai Yechida, and now you're getting all of this level. That is the Neshama Chai Yechida, which is the head. But the head, in other words, what's a way to say that? The light, let's look at it like this, in terms of, 5 will get you 10, so if you could say there's 5 partsufim, you could find a way to make them into 10 spheros. So let's say over here that, we had the light streaming down. What was I going to say? He said, "Mekabel es a shlosha partzufa penimim shel chai shehili nikru gadol sheni shehem neshama chai yechida." So let's say you had 10 spheros that covered the body. So the first 7, so 7 spheros from the bottom to the top would correspond to Malchus and Zeranpin. Zeranpin is 6, Malchus is 1. That makes 7. But the other three are missing. That's what he's saying, is that this is the way that Zer Anpin is originally formed. This is called Vav Kitzvahs, the 6 Kitzvahs, plus Malchus. So then you have this. Now, if you want to make Zer Anpin and grow him, so first the lights of Yisrael Sabbath Tavuna come into Zer Anpin. And then as he reaches that level, and that's called Katnos and Godlus rishon, then as he's able to absorb those lights, he continues to grow, and he grows all the way up to the top of Abba Ve'ima Eloim. And this is an important idea here. And there he receives the lights of the head a little even more. Benimi, he gets the Chaya, he gets the Neshama, the Chaya and Yechida over here. So we'll see how that grows. This is Baruch Flash Batikun Elevator Kolel. And this is a little bit of a double shear here to try to get us started.